All right, guys, welcome to the Ronin Man San Francisco Summit Part 2. Okay. So we're going to do some self-introductions, reality. All right, let's pass around here. Here we go.
All right, yo, this is Grizz, and I'm here at the summit. It's been a kick-ass time. We saw beautiful San Francisco Bay, walked through Fisherman's Wharf, all that good stuff. And so as far as no rain, killer weather, good vibes, a lot of bros hanging out. We're going to tell some stories. You want me to tell my personal thing?
Man, just go for
Okay,
it.
so listen, I've been through the machine. We'll talk about the divorce machine, the female machine. I've been on this red pill journey for a while, and I want to say that there's a lot of good content creators. But the one thing I have not heard from most content creators is, where do you get the juice? Where do you get this mojo? And so the reason I'm here is because I'm here for the juice. And when I listen to the Ronin Man content, I want to say that he's maintained this mojo through thick and thin. And that's what is magnetic. So this is for the magnanimous Ronin Man. So.
Wow. Fuck, what's your story? Like,
My story?
About yourself, anything about your introduction? What are you working on? What's going on, man?
I'm a typical dude. Grew up with a bit of a religious background. My parents said, hey, be a good boy, stay on the straight and narrow, do all the right things, marry the neighborhood girl, be a good guy, pay the bills, do all the right stuff. You're given a blueprint, right? That blueprint sometimes doesn't always work. That blueprint actually ends up being a scam where we just all get exploited as men. So we're here to get a different blueprint, a different plan, maybe a new alternative.
When did you wake up, or when did you start to realize?
When I wake up, I'd say this journey, well, the thing is, I've always been a nonconformist. So I always look at stuff when somebody tells me, hey, do this. I always ask why. Why are we doing this? Why is it that everybody's doing that thing, And I'm like, well, just because they're saying this is the way you got to go, maybe this isn't the right way, maybe we got to figure it out on our own. So there's that. And I've been through these gals, and they want to treat you like a beast of burden. And maybe we're kind of sick of being beast of burden here. Maybe we're sick of paying into this system. Maybe we're sick of being exploited. Maybe we need to figure out, we're good to these gals, we're good to our kids, we're good members of society, we follow the rules. Maybe we need to just start being good to ourselves, and good to our brothers. So how did it start? I guess just living life. Living life, just seeing how people operate, seeing how they give you a set of rules, but then they don't follow them. So you're following the rules, but then they're changing the rules. So it's like, if you like sports, games, I like sports, I like games, just quit changing the rules. If you want to play to win, quit changing the rules. But, we're like I said, going back, we're looking for a new blueprint. So you want me to get more specific?
Sure.
So, yeah.
Painful stuff. What's going on?
Painful
anything,
stuff?
Yeah. Anything that we get to know you better.
Yeah,
what you're here for, why you're,
Well, I've been through the machine. I looked at a lot of different channels. And, I've been through the divorce. Haven't seen my kid for like a year. And the old lady is using her as a lever to get what she wants. She wants more bucks. And, you got to be hardcore. As a man, you got to be hardcore. And everybody's trying to break you down, so don't let them break you down.
Got it. All right.
All right, Monkey here. First summit, way out of my comfort zone. It's the one in the chat, man. And I'm in my 50s. Let's see, if I'm at future summits, hopefully you'll say, hey, remember when you showed up at that first one, Monkey, and you were just so dead inside and so monotone and that's the way I am now. So I could pretend that everything's awesome, that I feel great, but can't do it. So, I'm hurting a lot, and see, in the last 4 years have been rough. I lost my marriage in no particular order. Lost my marriage, career. My younger brother died under horrific, worst circumstances you can imagine. What else? Caught and recovered from COVID. Wasn't so bad, but it was a rough period there. Brutal phase of my life, and and although they didn't all happen at the exact same time, and they happened in the exact same epoch, so I'm still kind of smarting from all that, to be honest. And I got no kids, so it's like at this time of my life, I got no job, no house, no spouse, no kids. Which is bad or good, depending on how you look at it. But the themes in my life, how did I get here? The themes of my life, I was blue pill to say the least. I mean, I was never without a girlfriend from like age 12 on, and any moment where I didn't have one. As I just thought you had to have one or you were a loser. So in hindsight now, I was like red pilled a couple of years ago, so I can see now, oh shit, didn't spend any time by myself, didn't really have the strong male guidance that I needed, or it was there and I didn't take advantage of it. I mean, it's nobody's fault. And I was pretty much drunk from age 14 to 42. Been sober 10 years, so I mean that's something.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
So that's a good thing. So I don't drink or smoke or drug or do any of that shit, but married for 20 years. Now that's done. More details later, but that's done. And see, there's more I want to share, but I'm getting tongue-tied because it's like a lot. But oh yeah, another pivotal bad decision in my life was I cheated on my spouse, and so there's no victimhood here. That was a terrible decision, and the repercussions continued for years. Not just for what it did at home, but the person I was involved with. Let's just say it was bad. Real bad. In fact, that was 4 years ago, and that's what brought me to groups like Ronin here, which is a healthy one, and a couple others are still healthy, but in retrospect, I watched some stupid ass stuff too. That I don't know what to call them, black pill or just destructive or girls are awful. It's always the girl's fault. So it was just like a key to victimhood. I was like, that's right, these stupid bitches. Well, no. It was my responsibility the entire time, and even if somebody was coming at me real destructively, I'm the one that allowed it to happen. Didn't chop it off, so like it hurts to realize that the buck stops here, and it was in my control all along. And I just didn't know how to pull it together, call it lack of agency or strength or whatever you want to call it. That X factor just wasn't there. So yeah, all the karma's a bitch. All my poor decisions came back to bite me, but some of the good ones have
You
yielded.
get some good stuff too.
Yeah.
You're not going to talk about that, but you get some good stuff.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
What else? So yeah, I come here now, and it's like, okay, I'm mostly through all that crap and at square one, but it's not far in the past yet, so it's still smart, still a lot of unknowns. I got enough I'm very grateful for a lot of things: the physical health, the sobriety. Got money in the bank to take time to think about what to do next. So I'm not complaining. But it's been a rough time. So I feel great because of where I am now. But yesterday I was all just wake up in despair and feel the pain and oh my God, and such day to day. Every day's a little bit different. Today's a good day.
Question. Was the cheating the catalyst for the divorce, or was the marriage already going down?
It was already going down, but that, as you might imagine, it didn't help things, and it also eliminated my own credibility. Because after that, I couldn't make any demands or requests or say, hey, we have to change this. We need to move. Maybe you can make these adjustments. She'd be like, what are you freaking kidding me? You did that. Trying to make adjustments. And I'd be like, well, you're right. So it actually, it just like neutered me for years afterwards. Like I wasn't wise enough to get out because clearly I didn't want to be in. I just felt so guilty and, I got to fix it because it's my fault. And it just wasn't the right approach. So yeah, it definitely didn't help, but it actually, she was hurt, it was devastating, all that, but it actually effed me up more because it eliminated all whatever power I had in that situation. If you know what I mean.
So some people know how to use guilt. They wait for you to make a mistake and they know how to just grind you down with your own guilt. I've seen that before.
Yep.
Right, because honestly, it sounds like, in a community property no-fault divorce state, if it's here in California, then the court, they don't care, what anybody did personally. Like,
right.
That doesn't even enter in legally. So if anything, you just neutered yourself because of your own conscience. Because you held yourself to a higher standard than what she held herself to, probably.
Yeah, I see your point.
And that they use that against you. The other party does. Try to get you to self-destruct, try to get you to self-attack. But we're going to stop doing that. We're going to learn how to not do that.
People can use that thing. I know. I've seen. I know about that.
So I've gotten over the guilt of doing the blatantly awful stuff, like cheating is a big one, but the part that's really hard to get over and accept now is that I didn't exit like a man gracefully, say 2-3 years ago, even after that. Because it was like this hellish limbo. You remember when I was first talking to Ronin here, I'm like, I want to go, but I can't. I'm scared. She's going to do mean things. You even caught the tail end of that earlier this year. Every week, on a week-to-week basis, I would have a plan. I'm going to do it this weekend. I'm going to do it. And then chicken out. And this is just telling a woman who's not happy anyway, hey, let's just end it. So it's really weird to think, was I really that terrified? Like, once it actually happened, it sucks, but it wasn't like that. It was way worse in the ruminating, what do they call it, catastrophizing in my head. It was, I can't believe it. It's, and here's a way to make rumination way worse than it otherwise would be. So I quit drinking 10 years ago, but lucky me, I had a psychiatrist prescribe stimulant medication.
Really?
Not Adderall, but something like that. Great for concentration, but imagine taking microdoses of meth. That's what it is. It's all the same.
Yeah.
And what do you do if you're on coke or meth? You say, fuck consequences, and you do dumb shit. So, I'm not blaming it on the pill by any means, but actually I'm kind of proud of this too. I said, wait, this is I'm acting manic and stuff here, so I weaned myself off that. I would tell the doctor, all right, hey, I'm taking 80 mgs. We got to go lower it to 60. Now we got to lower it to 40, 30, 20, 10.
There you go.
And then I started doing less stupid shit. So, there is a correlation there. So I took it for legal, prescribed, legitimate use, which it helped me concentrate at my software engineering job. It actually helped. But then at night, yippee, what are we going to do now? Red Bull, maybe pop another one, like. Anyway, this is getting long, but
when you're done, I'll get a quick story.
you wanted juicy details, so
No,
thanks for listening, everyone.
Cool. Let me add. I want to add something. It's funny because you say that, because when I hear your pain, it makes me think back. I had a girl I was dating, and I was dating a lot of other girls at the time, and so she knew I was dating other girls, but she was like a really quality girl, like really smart. You know what I mean? She was like, she was cool. She was a super cool chick. And so I was, of course I had a bunch of other girls. So she got tired of it. And so then one day we did a dance, right? And so she like deliberately grabbed this guy. There was this really handsome guy who was in our group, and he was like Goldman Sachs, and like he was like a really handsome dude, and he was just up and coming his career. And so she pulled him home and screwed him after the dance, right? And the thing is, I'm not a jealous type, so I just kind of thought, okay, because I knew she was pissed that I had all these other girlfriends. So what I did was, and I didn't realize how bad it was at the time, I kind of did what your wife did in a way, because I kind of like, I knew she felt guilty about it. And so I just like openly cheated with the other girls, more openly, right? And it went on for like years, and I didn't realize what I was doing at the time, but it was really hurting her. It ended up like crushing her because she felt like she couldn't say anything because, she cheated with this other guy who was, like the kind of guy that most guys would be very jealous of. Whereas for me, it was fine. It was like, yeah, it didn't. I felt like, yeah, it's fine because I had so much going on that I felt it was fair because she was a pretty cool chick, actually. I shouldn't say pretty cool. She was a very cool chick. And so, but I didn't know, sometimes you don't know how things affect other people. So if I could go back in time, I would have toned that down because I kind of discovered something that worked because it worked on her because she just shut up about this stuff, the other girls. If she found another girl's panties or something in my room or hair or whatever, or like ring or whatever, she wouldn't say anything. And I could just see it. It was like, and I was like, cool, this is awesome. She's now accepted it. But actually what it was doing is I didn't realize it was like crushing her spirit, And then finally at the end, it was like, we met up. I just saw her on the street out of nowhere after we had kind of broken up. And then I said something like, hey, why don't you come back to my place? Because when I knew her, I wasn't doing that well. I was just a regular guy. But now I was like president. I had like a great place. And I say, hey, I told you I was going to work hard and make some money. Now I have it, right? So I said, you should come see my place, right? And she's like, I can't. She's like, or she actually came up and looked at the place, but she's like, look. But I realized she was like still totally in love with me. She goes, I can never have you alone, And I thought, and I looked at her face, and I was like pain, right? So she left Japan, and she went to like Chicago and got married. But I realized that sometimes we discover techniques that are powerful in kind of like relationships. We don't realize how powerful. Like I would definitely go back and change that, because she was the type that would feel guilty, But I didn't know that. I actually wasn't aware of the power. So as men, we do have to be careful. Of course she cheated, right? So you could say, oh yeah, it doesn't matter. But it does matter because, you know what I mean? It does matter. The way it played out, it wasn't fair to her, really. I should have just broken up with her or something. Yeah. I should have said, this isn't working. I can tell you're trying to make me jealous. And I understand you must be hurt and it must be difficult. And I understand that. So let's end it now. That's what I would do if I could go back. And there's no perfect thing to do, but so I was on the other side of that. So don't feel too bad because the reason why I was able to do it is because it didn't bother me that much. So I'm guessing it didn't bother your wife that much. And that's why she's able to let it ride on you. If it really bothers somebody, you act differently. You don't let them grind themselves down with it. If that makes any sense. You have mercy on them.
I hadn't been with a gal that was accountable, that felt bad for anything.
Okay, but there are, and like there's people like definitely this one was a good one. Okay. when you go through enough women, you find different types, like for sure. And this one was that type, and so I would say that that sometimes, there's a few things in my life I feel guilty with women, and that's one of them. It just keeps coming back. Not terribly guilty. It's not ruining my life at all. But I just realized I just didn't know my power, with her. I didn't realize how in love with me she was. You know what I mean? And how much she had staked everything on me, And because I thought, because she knew I had all these other girls. So, it was obvious, right? So I thought, she can't be that invested. But she was totally all in, right?
She was hoping. She kept hoping.
She was all in, right? And I think part of it is just like, if you're a cool guy and you have a lot of girls, there's going to be girls trying to get you, what they would say, like the alpha widow, somebody said, right? They said, alpha widow is somebody trying to get an alpha and they just ruin their life. But I don't make it that clear. I think there's good people that you have to be a little sensitive to people. And I would say to yourself is, fuck it. She probably wasn't that, probably didn't give a shit. That's why she let it grind you down. Just like me. I didn't care that much. I didn't care. I liked her, but at the same, she was trying to hurt. When someone's trying to hurt you, if you're confident, it just doesn't hurt you. It just doesn't, because you're like, okay. I almost was glad that she let off some steam almost, because it was pretty outrageous. I had a lot of girls. So I felt like, okay, this is good. She's got this guy, and he was a super handsome guy too. And he had a good job, good family and everything, New Yorker and everything. And it was like the kind of the guy in the movie that everybody hates. The guy who's like the head of the football team kind of guy. He was that kind of guy. Exactly that kind of guy. He probably was the head of the football team, right? But it's so, I think sensitivity to others and sensitivity to yourself. Yeah, fuck this guilt shit. I'd drop this stuff right now. She didn't give a shit, guaranteed. Or she wouldn't let you grind it down. Because if I would have known, I would have never let her do that. And she's watching you too long. 4 years, too long. She knows. Fuck that. Yeah. All right.
Hey y'all, this is Strider. I grew up with a single mom and a sister, so I was introduced to female nature only growing up, and in turn I wanted that masculine energy, and I just needed it. I needed the wisdom. I needed that masculine energy. So I played sports growing up, and after I graduated, I joined the Marine Corps, and that was my way of getting that masculine energy again. And after the Marine Corps, I joined DoD Fire, and 6 months ago, I quit my job. I'm not sure exactly what I'm all supposed to talk about, but I'm the youngest guy here. I'm 28. I'm just trying to learn from all these guys. I've been listening to MGTOW content since since 2017. Started with Tom Likas and also what was his name? Sandman. Yeah, thank you. I totally connected with it. I saw the casualties of war. And when I say war, I don't mean actual war. I'm talking about marriage and dating game in the military. Just seeing what women could do to men and how they could destroy their lives so easily. I just didn't want any part of it. So I've always been a guy that's pumped and dumped, or if I had a girlfriend, I've never been faithful. I just know that monogamy is not for me. And I just want to soak up the wisdom from everybody in this room. Hopefully this is still recording. I don't know.
That's what I was looking at. It looked like it may have stopped.
Oh, it's still going. Yeah, it's still going.
Cool.
Let's see. It's at 24 minutes. I can edit a little bit out there. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I don't. I'm kind of nervous right now too. Like I'm good at talking one-on-one to people, but
Yeah.
like when everyone's
Imagine you're
eyes
talking to
on
your
me.
best friend.
Yeah.
He's here. He's over there.
Yeah. I guess I'll start with my experience in Japan with women. My first duty station was San Diego, which was this huge culture shock coming from Texas. I felt that people, if they could, without getting punched, they'd probably just spit on me, just because I was in the military. And just seeing the dynamic of women from California to Texas was just freaking blowing my mind, just how different they were. They were a lot more cutthroat here than Texas. It was more like, everyone gets married early and goes on and lives out the rest of their lives. And it was very easy to talk to women in Texas, and it was very different in California. And then I went to Japan, and that's where I got into like pickup and all this stuff like that. And I was able to fail with women, and I was able to go through girlfriends and kind of see what I liked about it. And I started seeing patterns with women, and what are they getting, like, what are they trying to get out of this, and after a while I'm just like, well, it ain't me that they want, there's a part of me that they want, but they're looking for other things, and I started putting the pieces together. And then I finally came into MGTOW through Tom Likas and Sandman first. And then after listening to them and starting putting the pieces together more and more, I found Ronin's channel. And Ronin's channel was talking about stepping away from MGTOW and being not so boxed in by that, and taking a more reasonable approach to this. So what I mean by that is not being upset with the opposite sex, and looking at yourself first and foremost before anything, and building yourself into the best version of yourself, and knowing that. Sorry, guys, I'm.
You're doing good.
I appreciate it. You're good. All right. I just get lost in my train of thought sometimes, so if y'all could remind me of what I was talking about, I'd really appreciate it.
What do you want to get out of this?
Yeah, that's good.
What do I want to get out of this? I want to come out of this being a better man. I want to come out of this with more knowledge. I want to come out of this with a network of people that think like me, because where I'm from, there's some guys out there, I'm sure, but they ain't none of my friends. Everyone I know is blue-pilled. I don't know anybody that's red-pilled. And it's crazy when I try to help my friends or help anybody that's in this community or not outside of this community, and I'm attacked for it. I'm ashamed for it. I'm made to feel less than. The women keep me away from my best friends, and it sucks, because I know that everybody has this amazing potential, and they're just wasting it on because they want to get laid, and being this without working for it, I guess. Like, that's really what my friends say, They're like, yeah, well, it's easy pussy. I'm like, okay, but there's so many other things out there. But what I want to get out of I guess I'll just start with my story from 6 months ago. I think that's probably the easiest way to do this. I've never done this before, so I'm just trying my best here. Sorry, guys. So 6 months ago, I decided to just say screw it and follow my dreams, become an entrepreneur, quit my job. My whole life, I've been a slave to the government, to the school system, to federal. I was a federal employee after the Marine Corps. And I've never been able to do the things I've wanted in life. And all anybody talks about is like just finding a woman and getting married and settled down. And that's just another contract to me to keep me a slave. And I don't want that. So I said, screw it, I'm gonna quit. So I quit my job. I'm just going to go to college. Broke up with the girlfriend I was dating. And my life has never been better. I now own 2 businesses, working on a third. I've met so many freaking people that have just blown my mind. I've been networking. Before I had no network. Now I have this awesome network. Living life living life without being so addicted to female validation and feeling good just because I put my dick in something. That's the one thing that's changed my life. I used to be so addicted to that validation from women, and that was from growing up with a mom and a sister, and I couldn't live without it. It was everything about my what's the word for self-confidence? There we go. Everything. So I just, when I was in Japan, I would just chase women to make myself feel better about myself, to be honest. It was more about hitting that drug, for me personally. And my drug was female validation. And once I ridded myself of that, my whole life changed. And I've been able to focus on helping other people and making myself into the best version of myself. And God, I'm so happy. And I'm so happy to be here with all of you. Honestly, this is where it's at. This is life right here.
How did you do it? How did you
That's cool, man.
How did you get rid of your addiction to that validation?
I found a better addiction, helping people. And it started by helping myself. So thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, it's still recording. Whoa, so I'm the German. I'm mid-30s. And just sitting here, I notice a lot, I don't know if it's my gut or something, but I feel very intense emotions, and it's cool, and that's new, feeling intense emotions and that, feeling appreciation for it. And I listen to all of the content, and it's so different just sitting here and getting a felt sense. There's so many thoughts coming into my mind. I don't think I would have come into my mind just listen to the content. And I don't even know where to start. My life is pretty cool right now. I'm a digital nomad. I let go of, I don't know what exactly I let go of, but it's pretty cool. And then, as you were talking about female validation, I never had that, but I also I was going through my 20s, very shy, awkward. It's almost I was saved from that through my weirdness. Early 20s, I was mostly sitting in my room working on things that interested me, and it wasn't really on my radar that much. And then it was also on my radar in the sense I was in a long-term thing that really wasn't even a proper relationship. It was how to say, it was a fantasy love for 4 years, and when that bubble popped, I freaked out completely. She had another guy, and from the person I am today, I totally understand it. I was just in this dream world, and the word hope, and I don't know how that is all coming up now, but that's what's coming up for me. I was in this fantasy love and in this hope, and once that bubble popped, I was completely freaking out. I was telling that other guy she was with about it. I was uploading stuff on social media of our conversation, so she was playing how to say, she lied to me about it, but I was and I never told that anyone, but it's coming up right now, and I feel that's something I'm really ashamed of, and I let go of that. I have empathy for myself doing that, but if I could go back, I would. There was a period of 6 months where I was merely functioning. I was lucky that at work there was not much happening. I was just a shell of a person. Partially because of that, I knew that relationship ended, and also because I treated her badly. I confronted this guy with the truth, and I was facing something inside of me that was that I branded evil. And just sitting with that was that from the point today, looking at it, it was transformational, but it's also wow, what the fuck was I doing? And yeah, and I feel like, I came across a lot of things that I can talk about, like that helped me so much after that. And I feel like a lot of that stuff wasn't coincidences, like people I met and like, great communities. And it's like I only woke up to this, like that relationships can be real. Like I was in a real relationship shortly after that for the first time. And then like, I feel like, and then I met, which is like the second like major, I met like a girl I really fell in love with a lot, but she's like of another faith. And that ended because I just couldn't get myself to marry her. Like we could only be together if we would get married. So she was hiding that she's with me from her family. And like it was a great year. Like we had a great time, but it's like she's of Islam faith. And like, I was really on the brink of like, I was convinced I would never get married. And like, I was really thinking about it, but ultimately I just couldn't do it. And then after I realized that, I also realized I had to end it because I don't want to waste her time. It's like she wants to get married and have kids, and it can't be with me because I can't marry her. I would love to be with her, but I just can't do it. It's like there would be too much fakery down the road needed from my side. And it's like once I realized that, it's like, okay, like this was the greatest connection I ever had. And if I can't marry this girl, I definitely won't ever get married. And it's almost like, it's something like that realization. I kind of knew it, but it's like, there was still something about that was like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm really serious about it. And that's also why I'm here. It's like hearing like stories from you guys. And it's like, it's like, there's such a direct sense of hearing like stories. I can really feel it. And it's like, I want to soak in that wisdom. And it's almost like a confirmation of decisions I've already made, but it's good to get reminded. Like that's also why it's so great to consume this content, sometimes too much, but it's like you have to be reminded. I'm like, at times I was like, okay, let's get married then. Like that's like,
Thank you. Hey, my name is Micah, and I guess a little brief description. Kind of like the German, I was really shy growing up, and what got me out of it was doing theater in high school and doing stage combat type stuff. But I grew up religious, and I ended up losing my virginity when I was 20 to the person I ended up marrying, and we were in a 9-year relationship, which ended up being violent, and I got a divorce, and then I kind of did some slaying and got a little body count after that. And then I ended up meeting my second wife, and that's kind of when things kind of started to go downhill. I ended up investing in a hair salon, which actually, ironically, when I was in my 20s, I always thought it would be cool to be a salon owner and do that. Well, I kind of followed my dreams. I actually did it. I had about $30K, and I invested it because my soon-to-be wife was a hairstylist, and I was going to welding school, wanting to go into the shipping container, building houses like out of shipping containers. And the more research, when I was doing my business model, I realized it's almost the same price of building a conventional house after you modify it and stuff. So I was like, well, I have this money. Let's invest it in you because you're paying like $200 a week in booth rent. We can lease out 7 or 8 stations. And so we did that. And I kind of let her run the business while I was welding at a really cool company. And over the time, I started noticing, like, my gut was telling me something's not right. And I'd ask her, hey, how's the business? Like, how's everything? Everything's fine. And then I get an owner because we were leasing a place that she hadn't paid the rent in 3 months. And that was kind of the beginning of it. I guess the Cliff Note version, I noticed I was pretty much beta my entire life. And I noticed, like, that she was disrespecting me in front of, she had two two children, so I was a stepfather. And what basically ended up happening, I guess what ended the relationship is like her stepson, her oldest one, attacked me and fractured my ankle. And she called my mom and told me, like, she was at work. And so after the fact, while I was at the hospital, when I came back home, she was like, yeah, your mom's almost here. My mom lived a couple hours away. And she basically was like, I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, she's going to come get you. And that was the last time I ever stayed in my house. And so it kind of ended. I mean, things weren't good, but it kind of ended like boom. And so then, eventually I'm on crutches and my mom takes me to go get my stuff because I only pack like an overnight bag kind of stuff. And then the oldest son, called her. She was at work, so she comes home. And my mom automatically called the cops. She had that sense that something was going to happen. And so anyway, the cop said, well, he can come to his house. He owns his house. Even if you change the locks, and he busts the door, it's not illegal. And he's like, the way to get him out is you just do a protective order. So then she filed that I was threatening to kill her and threatening the kids, and I had to go fight that in court. And anyway, that's kind of what woke me up, I guess, hitting rock bottom to the reality of how feminine nature and stuff like that. After that, I started fight. I was like pissed off. She was spreading stuff on Facebook, telling, doing all that stuff. And so I fought that. I ended up winning the protective order, so they denied that. And I was like gun ho. I'm like, I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to take her to court. And it's ironically that this summits in San Francisco, and my uncle was a hippie in the Hyde-Ashbury during the 60s. And there was a guy called Trumpa, who was part of Shambhala Buddhism, came over, and he brought a bunch of hippies to California, and they started a commune. Now there's a Shambhala Center, which is a Buddhism center. So I got into Buddhism from my uncle, and I was talking to him because he was my meditation instructor, talking about fighting, and he's like, what about just letting her have it all? He's like, it can't hurt you. And I was like, just let her have it. And I was like, it's just money. I can make more money, once I get past the cutting the ego out of it, it's like, and I was like, that's a lot less stress on me the more I thought about it. Just let her have the house. We just bought one, and, I put $5,000 down, and we didn't have principal. So it was like, it's like, I let her have the house, let her have the salon. I'll walk away scot-free. And so that's what I did. I paid an expensive attorney fee for expecting the fighter, and I lost out some money there because she didn't have to go to trial. But the stress and the turmoil of me, and I was working at a really nice welding, and I was having trouble just making it through the day without crying for like months. It was tough. I went to therapy, but I came across Ronin and like Stryker. Came across Sandman was one of the first people, and then Ronin, and I just started listening, and then I came across like Why Not to Date a Single Mom, and almost all the stuff just like hit me like boom, boom. I experienced almost all that fucking shit. So it really woke me up, and so I went to the Austin Summit, and it was fucking badass. But it helped me along the way. And so like now, I'm not really going, life's really good. I have been working on myself internally. I realize the dialogue I talk to myself, I'm really hard on myself more than I am with other people. And I realize I talk down about myself sometimes, and just changing that internal of how I talk to myself or how I feel about myself has made a world of difference to me. But yeah. And so life's pretty much good, but these summits are awesome, and the people here are awesome as well. It's the networking, and just I don't have these kind of guys in my life. I wish I did. Even some of my good friends, we don't talk about some of the stuff that we talk about at these summits. So yeah, I'm gonna pass it on.
Excellent. Hey guys, this is SBC here, attending my second summit. I feel like nobody in the fucking world is giving men really the information they need nowadays to actually navigate the world around them and understand how to be free and live a fulfilled life, except Ronin Man. And that's what brings me back to these summits is I really appreciate his mentorship and also getting to hear your guys' stories and learn from you. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys all being here. And so there's a lot of things that have been going on in my life over the past 3 months since I attended my first summit in September. Ronin Man did a video recently, Attaboy. I felt like I really connected with that video. For you guys that didn't see it, basically the concept was when Ronin was young, his grandfather gave him a lot of positive reinforcement for things that he was doing correctly. And being in my mid-30s, I almost feel like I was sort of like conned in a way, because growing up, you're told, get good grades in school, go to a good school, get a good job, attaboy, attaboy, attaboy for all those things. And then you hit your mid-30s and it's almost like society kind of starts to turn their back on you, like they were kind of fooling you. So the way I think of it is that the attaboys are almost a way to trick you or dupe you onto the plantation, get you to take on loans, take on all these anchors around you, get married, buy a house, have kids. And then you start looking back at it all and you're like, holy shit, what is it that I'm getting into? So I feel like I'm having like a little bit of a crisis. And I thought that video was really good. And Ronin gave an analogy about being in a stadium, and then suddenly everyone in the stadium, just one by one that's cheering you on, is just clearing out. And then suddenly you're in an empty stadium. And I feel like since I turned 35, that's kind of like a little bit of what I'm going through. So I'm at a bit of a crossroads. And a girl that I had been in a relationship with for many years, we had basically gone our separate ways. And now she's kind of started to come back into my life. So basically what I'm trying to figure out at this summit is I kind of have two diverging paths, where I'm either going to basically cut this relationship off for good, and basically make huge radical changes in my life, hopefully, and do something really fun, like do something kind of like a hero's journey, kind of like what Ronin described, traveling for a few years abroad, or do the blue-pilled path.
He's going 4 years.
And yeah, or go down the blue-pilled path and kind of stay with this girl. And there's a lot of challenges with this relationship because previously my ex-girlfriends had been your typical white, American, bitchy, stuck up, keeping up with the Joneses type chick. But this girl, she's been different because she is, a first generation American Filipina, and she's very feminine, very sweet girl. She has a lot of really positive attributes to her. But at the same time, it's like, I don't really want to get married. And also something that I don't hear guys talk about a lot in the red pill community is when you date a girl from a foreign culture, their cultures are so different than our cultures. And so there's a lot of clashing there with her family because I don't see the world the same way that she does. So part of this summit is kind of you guys kind of pushing me forward to either get out of this relationship finally and, finally just be free. So, that's one big thing that I wanted to address. But in terms of relationships, like I've never majorly been fucked over by a girl. I've been able to usually get out of bad scenarios, sniff them out and get out of them. I've actually had more negative experiences with women in corporate America. I had a very negative experience with a boss over the course of like 3 or 4 years, a very narcissistic, evil boss that basically mind fucked me and very abusive. And so I did a little bit of reading on that. And then I came across this great book, which I recommend. It's called In Sheep's Clothing. So if you've ever dealt with a covert narcissist, this is the book you want to read. So it helped me kind of identify this crazy boss's personality type. So, yeah, in terms of negative experiences with women, definitely in corporate America more so, because women are taking over corporate America. They're taking over all the management positions, which is why I also kind of want to get out of corporate America. And Ronin's talked about in his previous videos how important it is to kind of do your own thing, and that makes you unblackmailable, so you don't have to answer to some, evil narcissistic boss. So those are kind of the main points that I'm working through during this summit.
Did you see the mail order brides episode?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. That's
Yeah.
gonna have a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Culture,
That was,
fucking,
yeah. And I know, Ronin, like, you've dated a lot of girls from, foreign cultures like Japan and Thailand and stuff, but I haven't heard you talk too much about, you've always said the good attributes that these women from different cultures have, but I feel like long term, if you get in a serious relationship with a girl from a foreign culture, or you marry her, like, I think that it can raise a lot of problems down the line. Because going out with this Filipino girl, like, her family is so different than the way I was raised. Like, their expectations are completely different. So I don't think necessarily marrying a girl from a foreign culture long term is the answer. One of my good friends, for example, married a Japanese girl, and she was a super sweet girl, but 4 years after they got married, they just got divorced recently. And he said because the cultural differences just wore on him. So I'm trying to navigate all this and really understand, if dating women seriously from a different culture is really worth it, because a lot of red pill channels really push that, like, women from a different culture are more feminine, they make better wives. But I don't know long term if that's necessarily the case, because there's so many cultural clashes with religion, customs. So that's something I'm trying to figure out.
Right, I can add a little bit. Yeah, that's cool. I know in Japan, they do some records of the military guys who marry Japanese girls, and the divorce rate is actually really high. I think it's different. It depends too. Basically, when you date a foreign girl and you don't know the culture, you're totally blind. You end up with the worst, basically. It's kind of like, I don't know if you can think about this, but let's say a girl comes over from another country to America. She gets here. She has no understanding of how to look at different guys, like who's good and who's bad. So it's really common for these girls to come over and pick a guy who would be they would never date a guy like that back home, because they would know the downside of that situation. But here they can't separate. It's like, oh, handsome dude or has a car. They can't even imagine the differences. Whereas if it was a Japanese guy, they would be able to see this guy's completely different, right? You just can't, you're blind when you're new to a culture. And so the more scammy chicks will target you. Whereas somebody who's longer term like me, I really know their culture, and I know what they're thinking, and I can understand what they're saying. And so because of that, I have a much better ability to choose somebody who it would work out with more than somebody. You don't have no idea how blind you are. When you're dating one Filipino, you're totally a sitting duck. You might think she's great, and it's difficult. It's difficult to even learn what I'm saying without living there, for a few years and really, giving. That's why the mail order brides. It was really about how random it is. It's almost like looking at the phone book and just marrying somebody. You just have no idea who they are. And with a girl here or a girl that you know the culture, you might think you don't know anything. But compared to a girl who's from another culture, you know so many things. You have so many things in common. You understand so many things about where she's coming from. And I'll add one other complication, because you're asking about long term. And long term is an interesting question, because nobody ever talks about that. But long term is that's an interesting thing. Long term multicultural relationships, right? I think that one of the things that surprised me, I had girls that I dated. I dated one girl for 10 years. I was dating other girls, but she was my main one. She was my number one for 10 years, right? And she was a very bilingual, very funny, very cool chick. had a lot of things going on. She was smart. She was just a cool chick. She's the one I talk about sometimes. That's super high IQ. She was 181. She was like super smart. So she could play any role. You think a smart girl's going to act smart? No. They just know how to go with anything. Like whatever you're doing, you're playing a song, she just joins in. You're doing like you're telling the cop something to get out of a ticket. She just plays in like naturally. They're just smart enough to always adapt, right? So she was like that. And then, but what happened was she, when I dated her, when I was with her, she was always into foreign movies. She was into foreign music. She was into foreign food. She liked bread. It sounds dumb, but she liked bread. She liked coffee. And that goes deep. Most Japanese girls you're pretty Japanese. They want tea. They want the rice. And they'll eat the other stuff. For sure, Japanese girls are international. But at the heart of it, what they want is going to be different, right? She was different. She was like totally Western on the outside. But what happened with her as she got older, it was very interesting. She totally switched. And she all the Western veneer that she had just disappeared. And she switched back to like a hardcore, traditional Japanese woman. And that was interesting because it wasn't anything to do with me. This isn't male, female. It was like she was trying on something. And I think she just got tired of it. And she went back to her culture. And I really noticed it because she was talking to my mom and she said, my mom asked her a question and then she said, well, we Japanese believe this. And she never talked like that. She was never the we Japanese type. She was like always super cool. And I realized that suddenly she was like, we and you. Right. We're not, you know what I mean? Like we're not. And so I think the thing with international relationships too is that the ones that put on the most, like I am Western or something, they often switch. This is my experience. It started with her where I noticed it. And this is a very deep concept. If you look in your life, you might find this. And it could be anything where someone switches, they were like crime gang or whatever. Then they became Christian. Like, I think there's a point where they switch back. I don't think we can kind of keep, it's kind of like you are what you are. And so the thing with foreign and yourself is that you kind of are what you are. So it's good to be super honest with yourself from the beginning. And don't believe these changes. And even in yourself, because I became very Japanese, and I never was the type, don't get me wrong, I was never that cheesy type who wore a kimono and acted like he was Japanese, because there are those guys. Trust me, they're fucking morons. But I just, I was speaking Japanese all day, all my friends, I did become more Japanese than most because I'm totally, it was very immersed, right? And I still love Japan, but it doesn't accept me. So Japan never fully accepts me because I don't look Japanese. There's a very racial thing in Japan. If you don't look Asian, if you don't look Japanese, they're not going to really, if you're Chinese and you speak good Japanese, you can be accepted actually. And your kids will be accepted totally because they look Japanese, they have a Japanese name. But I will never be fully accepted and my kids would never be fully accepted. And that really hurts me. I don't like that because I am not that way. I can accept people. And in Japan, it's just not that way. It's just you'll never be fully. And everybody that lives there a long time, they realize. So these are the issues when you talk about long term, right? And I'll just end on one thing is cultural shock. Culture shock starts with chopsticks and stuff. And it ends with what happens after you die. Because, and things like that. Like Japanese just have different viewpoints on these kind of fundamental things. So when you go even to your deathbed, you're still going through culture shock if you stay with somebody else. It never ends. It's just a deeper version of the culture that you didn't know before, just because you were never dying before, right? So it's like based on a situation, So I would say, I don't know. I never say foreign girls are better, and I had a lot of good experiences with foreign girls for sure. But I'm open, but I think, okay, just one thing is very important. These guys telling you foreign girls are better, they usually have 2 years experience. They really don't know shit at the end of the day. You want somebody with 30 years experience. They've seen everything. They've gone through everything. And they can spread some wisdom your way, right? Spread that butter on thick. They know. they'll think about it and they can tell you stuff. So you want deep answers, you got to go with people who have deep experience. This is the only way. You're not going to get it from blogs. You're not going to get it from asking somebody who lived in Japan for 5 years. They don't know anything. I mean, they know stuff, but it's not the kind of stuff you want to know. You want to know, how's my life going to turn out, right? That's going to come from, like look for a 70-year-old guy who's been in Japan, married to a Japanese for 40 years, and ask them questions. He'll know a lot of stuff. So there are people who have the answers, but they're harder to find. But once you know what you're looking for, you can probably get the answers.
Is it okay to chime in?
Yeah, it is okay. It is okay.
Okay. I don't know. It's my first one, my first summit. I've been doing a bunch of research on that as well. And what I've come up with, I'm in other circles, men's circles. I'm in 3 other ones, actually. And every one of them that has gotten whatever, a Russian girlfriend, Filipino, Thai, they all say the same thing. They brought them here. If you didn't bring them here and you went and lived there and you can handle that, it'll be great. But once they come here, they start talking to the Joneses and the other lady and the whoever and whoever. And all of a sudden, they got Facebook friends. They're straight up American. So anything good that you liked can be gone pretty quick. And then in the end, the cultures are so different. If you went there and you can handle that, there's a couple guys that are there that I know, and they're having a blast. But every guy that's here with one is miserable, just like another married share, pretty much. And Dr. Dita Dell also said that. I followed him for like 30 years. He said, you're always more comfortable with your own kind. You just are. Now, I don't know if I can agree with that completely, because I like to push the boundaries. I do. I'll let you know later on that. But anyway.
Well, yeah, so just to piggyback off of that, so I don't know if I was clear. So she's already here. So she moved here when she was 3, and now she's 32. So, I mean, her origin is here, but she grew up in a very tight-knit Filipino family. So, I mean, she's a very, lovely girl, and she's very Americanized, but at the same time, she still has, those very strong, Filipino roots. And what I think, one thing that I noticed that nobody warns young guys about is when you marry a girl, especially if she's Filipino or Latina or anything like that, you're really marrying her whole family. And I've hung around her family, and they're really nice people, but they fucking do everything together. And I'm not just talking about parents, I'm talking about extended family. And it's I don't know if I could see myself dealing with that, all the time, even if they are really nice people, because the culture is so different. So that's kind of something that I'm wrestling with.
I got one thing to add.
It's kind of answering your own question.
Yeah. Okay, here's another interesting one. This is even outside of dating. Okay. Okay, when I come back to America, right, I meet all these guys, and I'll say, what's your background or whatever, and they'll say, well, I'm Scottish, right, in an American accent. And I'm like, what? And then the guy's like, yeah, my family's half Scottish. People don't even know, it's crazy. You're not, it's like you're a dog, you're a cat, a fish. You're not Scottish. Scottish it's a nationality, it's a culture, it's a way of speaking, it's everything. It's you so here, what I'm saying is that overseas ethnicities are brittle forms of reality. Okay, so when I meet, let's say I meet a Chinese American who is the type that speaks Chinese. So their grandparents spoke to them, and so we speak, right? Or Japanese, right? I've met both. They have the language and they have their parents, but they really, it's like when my dad, when he went to Finland, and then they asked him, well, how did you get here? And he said, well, I got here, he speaks some Finnish. So he said, I got here by the flying boat. And then everybody started laughing. And he's like, yeah, the flying boat, yeah. And they're like, we don't, and then someone said, that's an old word. We used to say that when airplanes were first invented. They were called flying boats in Finnish, right? And now they're airplanes, right? So there's another word. So the foreign, like the groups of people, like my parents grew up in a Finnish village. They speak Finnish in Minnesota, right? And it's like, now it's less because people moved in, but it was like really a Finnish place. Like my grandfather's fluent Finnish. My grandmother is fluent in Finnish. My parents speak quite a bit of Finnish. My first memory as a human is people speaking Finnish, right? But we're not, like, I thought, I was so confused by this because I'm 100% Finnish, right? So I actually went to Finland, and I was cruising around and talking to people, and there's this invisible gap between me and them because I'm more salesy than them. I'm just different. I can't fit in. In some ways, we're the same. Like they left when I stayed at my relative's house. They didn't speak any English, and I woke up in the morning. I got there at night. I took the boat from Sweden, and I got up in the morning, and there was 2 work boots right in front of my door. So I thought, well, I guess I'm supposed to wear these. So I put them on, and then we went to the river, and they saw I was strong because I was working in a sawmill in Sweden, and so they wanted me to like throw rocks all day to like build the embankment, and that's like very Finnish. Like that's what I did the first day is hard labor. Me and one of my far uncles, we just sat there all day, and I love throwing rocks. So we're just throwing these rocks. We totally shored up that river for winter, right? And the thing is like I realized like it's so different. But when we were working, we were the same. That family was so happy because they heard how hard I worked and that I was strong and work hard and never take breaks. I could just keep going, right? Well, I was 26, so I was 24, and so we had a connection that was so deep. We look Finnish. You know what I mean? I know a few Finnish words, right? And I spoke Swedish at the time, which they speak Swedish, most people in Finland. And it was near Sweden, right? So there's so many close, but it's so far. You know what I mean? There was that moment of total euphoria. I thought, I fit in here because I can fucking work. Like I'm like a horse, right? I can do that, right? And so, but then when it gets to anything else, I'm just not Finnish. And so what you deal with the Filipina who came over at 3 is that you have to know the reality is she's totally out of touch with what's really going on in the Philippines. Trust me, she's completely out of touch. Like I'm more in touch when I meet Chinese Americans, I was going to say, who speak Chinese. I start talking to them and quickly we realize that they don't know that much about China. And so often I pretend like I can't speak Chinese because sometimes it's quite distressing for people because they consider themselves Chinese. It's like a big part of their personality. And I would like full open heart. Like, I'm like, this is great. Cause I always see Asian Americans as like me because I spent my whole life in Asia living in another country and really having to deal with a lot of difficult things as a foreigner. And a lot of people here, they have to deal with a lot of things as foreigners. And so I see ourselves as the same. I'm like, I'm the same. We're just we're different countries. Like that's the way I see myself, right? And that's my experience in my life. But they don't see me that way. They see me as a guy here, but I was never here. So I don't even know what I mean? I can't even play the role they want me to play. But what I'm saying is it's like cultures, they get very far away. And the Chinese that are here, their idea of China, like they could be from mainland China, but it's basically Hong Kong and movies, which is totally different than mainland China. Like Mandarin speaking Chinese. Like Hong Kong is a quite different place, man. Very different culture, different language, different culture, totally different thing, right? It's a very different thing than Mandarin. Like I shouldn't say Mandarin culture because there's a million different cultures, but it's a different thing except for Guangdong. But basically, cultures are super complicated. They're like a jacket you take off and you think she's Filipino. Don't even think that. That chick's American who's got a taste, a sense like I did, because I thought I was Finnish. Growing up, I thought I was Finnish, And then I was in this elevator one time, and there's 2 Finnish people, and I just got back from Finland. I was in Hong Kong, and I said, hey, my parents are Finnish, and like blah blah. And the guy was a total dick, by the way. But he goes, are you Finnish? Or are you American? And basically it was like a sense is like, you're not Finnish. And I looked at him, I go, I'm fucking American. And it was like I chose sides because I realized he was like really like, who are you? Like what really? And it was good for me because I realized I am American, right? Even though, right? So I think when you're dating other cultures, especially overseas expats, they're very out of touch with what's going on. Like a lot of people who grew up from Japan, they think Japan is what Japan was in the 70s, man. Japan is totally different now. They don't know anything about the changes. It's like everything's changed. The sex roles, the sexes have changed. Everything. The families changed. It's hard to find a Japanese family anymore because it's all single people. You go to McDonald's, it's all single chairs. They're bolted in the floor. There's like one chair. Most McDonald's. Because they realize there's no families, so they just have to make single chairs, right? Whereas like, if you watch a Japanese drama or you talk to somebody here, they'll talk about having 8 brothers and sisters and this and that. Those days are long gone, man. So not only are they not, but they have these weird ideas about kind of their culture and who they are. And I'm not saying it's complicated what I'm saying, but just know the whole thing and look at it through that lens. Yeah, you're good, man. Like because a lot of times they'll try to say we are better because we were more honest in our culture, or we were like this and this, and maybe that was true in their little world or in the 80s or 50s or whatever the fuck they're talking about. But these expat communities are weird, is what I can say, and I'm talking about myself too. Like my parents grew up in an expat community, a Finnish expat community, because they're just out of touch. They need someone like me who's like done both and I know who the stars are right now, what people talk about. I know the way women talk now compared to the way they did, and men talk, and I can go into I can talk about it because they're just talking nostalgia, man. This is fucking long gone, man. Those days are over. It's like some dude here talking about the fucking 20s. Like the 20s aren't here, and a lot of the shit ain't here. So anyway, when you deal with the girls, there's another thing, you could throw under your, maybe this is happening too, right? Yeah. Anyway.
Well, yeah, just to go off of that. So, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that she's definitely like disconnected from the culture. I mean, her family goes back once or twice a year, and I know that doesn't count for much going back for a week or two. But the thing is like, I've known this girl for 9 years, so I really know her pretty well. And the thing is like when I step into her house and hang out with, all of her relatives, it's probably doesn't mirror exactly what it would be like if they still lived in the Philippines. But like, I can feel the difference.
It's so fucking different.
Right, but I can feel.
I know the Filipino families here. It's totally different.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that it's different than like dating, like because my exes before were white, and just that feeling of being around their family, the expectations, going to mass every week with 25 of her aunts, uncles, and cousins, and all that stuff. Like it's just the culture is different. Yeah, maybe it's not at the same level as if she was still living in Manila, but it's not.
It's the culture of her family.
Right, okay.
It's not the culture of the Philippines.
I got you, okay.
It's her little thing that she's got.
Right, it's the thing they've concocted.
That's what you need to,
Yeah. I got you. Okay, fair enough.
But she doesn't know it, and they don't know it.
Okay, gotcha.
It happens over time.
It's that little thing in America.
Right,
Yeah,
they're little.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I dig it.
And don't
okay.
be out of touch if you move over there. Because what happens is I start thinking Americans are really honest and this and that, and then I come here and then I realize, so it happens to everybody. I'm here dealing with people, and in reality, and it's good for me because I did have a lot of erroneous ideas about America.
Right.
That were just long ago,
Sure.
And so, being here has been good. I didn't take this shit seriously about they and them and all this stuff. I thought this was kind of not serious. I didn't realize that the divisions in society were that serious. I didn't realize that people actually, acted certain ways. To me, it was all kind of like, like things that change, but yeah, whatever, But then I really get here and I realize, man, like there's definitely things to learn. Like I have to, update myself. At the same time as I don't want to accept everything point blank, but I do need to update myself on what's going on here, right?
Sure.
Because people do things for reasons, right? Society adapts. Like everybody, MGTOWs are always saying society's going to collapse. It's all going to be sorry. It doesn't. Society adapts.
Changes.
Language adapts. Societies adapt and change. And it just always happens. And it's important for us, I think, for me as a man, is be in touch with the world. Be in touch with what's going on right now. Yeah,
Sure.
Don't be living in the past.
Yeah.
Sure. So, just to end it, to go off of what you had said earlier, I think what I'm trying to figure out is if I were to stay with this girl, what would my life be like in the future? And I'll leave it at that.
That family's prison.
Yeah. Thank you. Hero's journey it is.
It's gonna be you going to mass every week with their 25 ants and everything.
You already know. You don't have to guess.
Yeah, I mean, there it is.
Hey guys, this is Shawn. So my story is that I used to have, well, you guys have heard this before, but I used to have no social skills at all. Pretty much zero. Completely clueless about how to interact with people. I didn't know people with I didn't realize just stuff that's really simple now. You know, that people will say one thing and they'll have an expression on their face, but it's not the same as what they actually feel. Because I thought, well, surely if their expression is that must be, how could they hide that? Right? It just simple, just an example. Crazy, just unaware, right? So, going through all that, that's why I went to the first summit, was because I wanted to work on that, and I went there, and I didn't do a good job. You know, I was pouring water on my head. It was so it was trying to do all this kind of advanced calculus, trying to figure out, read this person's face, but then, there's 8 different faces in here. So how do you look at all of them? And how do you know, this person said this? Okay, keep track of that. How do you do all that so quickly, and so effortlessly? And watching Ronin Man do it was very interesting, because other people don't deal with people the way you do. Even people who seemed to me like they had good social skills were not nearly as fluid. It was amazing to watch you do that. And watching you intently and paying attention taught me a lot, even in 3 days. And so I went back home, and it was much easier to read people and to learn from them. And I studied more about it. I learned more about it. I practiced, and I got better and better. And of course I went to the next summit, and the next one and this other one. And I've steadily gotten better and better. And I knew I was getting better when I could see other people mess up, because I never saw anybody make a mistake in a social situation ever. So, and I saw somebody make a mistake, and I was like, whoa, that person totally didn't read that person's face. How could they have not seen that? That was odd. And then I was like, wait a minute. And then over time, I noticed other people make mistakes. And I noticed people make mistakes pretty frequently, right? And then I was like, whoa, I really had no idea. You know what I mean? Because I was, people would be hanging out, and then somebody would be like, oh man, I hate that guy. And I was like, I wonder when that happened. I wonder when he started not liking that person. What did somebody say something to him? What happened? And so I've gotten better and better at reading people and connecting with people. And that's something I really enjoy, is being able to actually talk to somebody in a meaningful way. I like that. And so as I've gotten better and better at my job, one of the things that I've noticed is that I'm now I've become the person who is socially savvy, right? It used to be I was very, very way down here, but now other people will make mistakes constantly, and I'm the one who comes in smooths things over. I'm the one who talks to the customer. That's what the $1 billion deal is about, that I'll talk to you guys later. We almost straight up lost it, and I got it back just by myself, just because of social skills, not because of anything else. And that, for me, that was so amazing, because how I don't, it's so cool.
The secret to life.
Please share.
It's so cool. Oh my God. It's learning about it has completely transformed my life in a way that I just didn't think was possible. It's so cool. to be that person. And I always wanted to be that person, you know what I mean? Like, I always wanted to be able to connect and it's so funny to think about it now. To be so lost. And to not to be a person and not be able to really understand like what's going on with another person and not really be able to understand what they're feeling or to be able to say something to them or convey how you're feeling. Because really, not having social skills, I really didn't have like emotions either because I wasn't connecting with other people. It was all like in here. And so I would never get like very sad or very like ecstatic or anything, but being able to connect with other people and being able to like read other people has been like amazing, you know, to be able to do that. And it's like, it's so cool. It's so cool. Like everything is like, like everything's like in like color now, you know, like there was this whole other world. It's so crazy, you know, to think that there was like this whole, it's like finding out that there's glue under all the tables. Like, whoa, the whole time, like every single table, that's crazy, you know, or finding out that, just anything, finding out the sky's green. You're like, whoa, what? All the sky or like part of the sky? Things like that. It's so cool. There was this whole other world and it gave me like everything that I was missing in my life, really. And it's so cool because it's so complicated, you know, and it gets infinitely more and more complex, like, but at the same time, very simple, right? Dealing with people. And it's such an interesting, compelling thing to be able to connect with other people. And and it was all because you, Ronin man, you took the time to, and it didn't even take much time, but nobody ever really took the time to like sit me down and like work through whatever it was. I don't know what it was, whatever little thing it was that was stopping me from like seeing, you know. But you taking the time, I appreciate that so much. And you've like you really have completely transformed my life. Thank you. And I wanted to come and thank you in person. Thanks. I wanted to tell you in person. But so, and that's the main reason I'm here, is just to communicate that to you, and also to keep improving, because it's, you know, it's something that I'm hooked on now. Like after I saved that deal at my company, I had been in negotiation for like a salary increase and some other stuff, and then that president left, and the other new president, he didn't know me, and there was this whole thing, so he just kind of ignored me. And so I was like, hey, you know, I'd like to, you know, talk about this thing that I had arranged with the previous one. He's like, oh yeah, I'll get to it. And it was like weeks, and he never really got to it. So I was going to leave, and I was going to work for the competition. And but I had made an impression on the owner and all these other like way high up people that I had been like nice to, that I didn't know were like high ups. Like we had this person who everybody in our office for some reason thought was like a janitor or something. They thought he was like the building manager. I remember like one of the engineers, our lead engineer, I was sitting there with him, and he was like, you know, sitting there talking to him. And he's like, dude, we need like more power strips or whatever. And the guy was like, I don't really think we need those. Those cost more money. He's like, okay, well, I'm done talking about it. I'm done. There's no point in talking. I'm just gonna be out of here. Basically, like, this guy's a moron. This guy's whatever. And as we were leaving, I was like, ugh, that wasn't good, because that was, you know, at this point I was like learning all that, all the skills, and I was like, ugh. And I saw a picture, and it was of a tower, one of the radar towers I used to work at, and I go, oh wow. I was like, that's a cool picture. that's that radar tower. I was like, I actually went up in that. That's cool. And he goes, and he had like a sour expression from like that guy about to leave as we were walking out. And he like went, oh, thank you. Like he like softened. And that guy turned out, he was like the vice president of like, not only this company, but all the other companies that like control that. It was insane. How could they not have known that? But anyway, so it turned out like that person and all these other people like were like, oh, what, he's gonna leave? And they like brought me in. They were like asking me like, oh, is there anything we can get you to do to stay? And I was like, no, not really. You know, I like all you guys. Thanks for, you know, hanging out with me and everything. And eventually they made me an offer, and I accepted like a few days later. And it was so cool because like when I came back, there was like people like coming up to me in like private, like, oh man, like I really like you. Like when I talk to you, I feel like I can really connect with you, and I'm so happy that you're staying. Like not like bosses. These are like coworkers. These are like people who have nothing to gain by lying or like pretending. It was individual people. And then there was even this one person, he's like, dude, like when you were gonna leave, like you didn't tell me about it, and I was gonna like confront you about that, like why don't you tell me you were leaving, because I feel like I really liked you, you know, and like connected with you and everything. And I was like, oh no, and I explained everything, and he was sitting there and he was telling me in front of like some other he was being like very open. He's like from the first time really that I met you, I felt like a special, even though I know I don't work with you very much, and you know I'm not getting into all that or whatever, but because I've just never had anybody like, you know what I mean? Like talk to me like that. That's crazy, you know? And it's just so odd, you know? So to have that, like, I just laugh about it now, but like, it's so much different. But like, I don't know. You knew exactly what I was looking for. So, thank you. Oh,
yeah. So at the summit, the first one, right, the Ozark Summit, you know, everybody was kind of like, you know, looking at me like, hey, we got to get rid of Shawn, you know, basically, right? And they were kind of like saying like, you know, and I go, and everybody's expecting me to agree, right? And I go, I like Shawn. And I did. I could see something in you, you know? And I was like, I knew there was something in there, like, to unlock, you know what I mean? I could just, it was true. I was like, I like Shawn. Fuck it, you know? Anyway.
but you really have transformed my life in a way that nobody else has.
Well, one thing people don't know, like, people don't know about Shawn. Shawn's like a math genius, savant, like engineer. Like this guy is like no joke. Like anything you want explained, ask him. He will explain it and ask the most difficult questions, because then he'll give you 8 answers about what if this happens and that. You know what I mean? So I can see why, you know, you definitely have a personality. So I can see, yeah. No, it's amazing to see. It's like fucking amazing. Yeah.
Social skills, I mean, that takes years. How did you transform so quickly?
I did.
To go from nothing to $1 billion deal. Like, I still struggle with, I'm still kind of down here, to be honest. And like, better than 5 years ago, but you just, like...
I really wanted it.
Did you just go hardcore in practice, or what?
Not really. I just really wanted it. I don't know. Like,
that's so inspiring that you were able to do that. Great.
Thank you.
What was the trick or the genius of it, or the main change you did?
I remember something that you said at the exact same time that you were telling me, because I remember you were telling me around the same time that you were telling me, well, you're probably pissing everybody off all the time and not noticing it, and that's why people don't respond to you. I remember you said, because we had that little talk. Then we did the Ozark Summit. I remember at the Ozark Summit, I asked you, I was like, how do you connect to people? How do you do things like that? And you told me you have to start by letting your guard down. You said, because basically what you're doing is you're like a castle walking up to someone and you're like, be open with me, right? Let your walls down, right? But I'm like in full armor, right? So no one's going to do that. And once I just kind of, I'm very, obviously I like math and physics and science. So once I had no frame of reference with social stuff. I didn't know anything, but I was able to watch you, and then I was able to take those key things you were saying, and then I read a big thing was that How to Win Friends and Influence People book. Oh, yeah. Like that, such a different perspective from what you would expect. Well, from what I would expect. Like almost like an alien was talking to me. I was like, whoa, that's weird, right? But all that, I probably read the book like 6 times. I actually read it on the flight over.
I was reading it too, actually.
Yeah.
There were 2 copies of that book. Like physically, you couldn't read the letters because your hand goes over so many times that the letters rub off after a while. That's how many times I read that book.
My father read that book when he got here from Italy. Years later when he got into real estate, he lived by that book.
There's a good idea.
That's Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence Others.
The biggest thing was that I always thought that my favorite thing was like doing physics calculations or doing statistics or something like that. And then once I started learning about all this stuff, I quickly realized that my favorite thing was connecting with people and hanging out with the guys or hanging out with the boys, right? Just a lot of fun. And that really there's not anything that even remotely comes close to that, really, for me. Because I always thought like, it was so weird. I was like, oh, there's people who have things they're passionate about. And I really didn't have anything that I was passionate about at all. And I was like, maybe they're just lying, right? Because I can't imagine somebody feeling passionate about it. I was like, maybe they're just like pretending. I don't know. Like that's kind of thoughts I used to have. I was like, because how could they? Because I don't feel that way, right? How could you, like people eat food. I still don't, like people eat food and they go, oh my God, I've never felt that. And now I understand that people do feel that way, but I used to think they were just kind of exaggerating. Like people who would have strong reactions like that. I was like, that surely can't be true because I've never experienced that, right? And so now I realize like, there are things that people can really enjoy. You know
what might have helped me is that I read a lot about Helen Keller, right? And so she was deaf, dumb, and blind, right? So she didn't know the language existed. Like she didn't know there was words for things, because she couldn't see, she couldn't hear, she couldn't speak. So she didn't know words existed. So her teacher, the one that changed her life, he put her hand under water, and then he drew water on her hand. And she got the word, and she totally changed like that because she realized there was words that described things, and then she could connect because before she never connected. So I read that story, so I knew that some people were like that, basically.
I remember a big part of what helped me was that you would actually like talk to me, and you took the time to talk to me, and you didn't talk to me like I was somebody who had no social skills. You talked to me the same way you would talk to everybody else, and because I had seen you interact with other people, I could tell, and I was like, wow, he doesn't treat me any differently. He knows, because I've explained to him, like he knows I don't have social skills, and it's obvious because he's like amazing the way he's able to do things, like just so intelligent and fluid and effortless. I've seen people who can do it in like short bursts if they're really focusing, if they're really like I'm going to get this person to like me, or I'm going to do this, or they just got finished reading the How to Win Friends and Influence People book. Like I've seen people do that, but like I've never seen somebody just instinctively do it, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted it to be instinctive, and I knew it was very important, right? Just like you talk about learning a new language, it's very important to have it on that deep level, to be listening to it 24/7, always playing, never hitting pause, right?
And you should read Helen Keller's story. That is very interesting. That's where the idea came from, with you, the same kind of thing. 'Cause I read it and I understood it, and it like she completely changed. She said she was in a prison of like an animal. She was like an animal. She was like just there was no. I mean, she's the only one that knows what she was saying, like how to explain it. But she felt like she was like an animal. She had no sense of anything. Like there was no idea of books, there's movies or education or communication. There was just grunting, and like she had no way to be human, right? And so when they wrote the water word, everything broke loose. So then she had friends. And they wrote. It was pretty powerful.
Once you took the time, and once I learned a few things, I was able to learn a lot of it very quickly. Like it came flooding in, because once I could read people's faces, all that information comes in very quickly. Because each person's face, you're figuring things out, you're learning things, you're paying attention. Like I used to not look people in the face because I thought like, well, there's no point to look in their face. You can just listen to their words and process it, and then you'll know what they're thinking, what they're talking about. And so I talked to somebody, and it's like, oh, that guy hates you. And I was like, what? No, he doesn't. And they're like, no, that guy hates you. And I'm like, what is that? And I'm like, why does he hate me? And he goes like, I don't know. And I'd be like, well, I didn't say anything first. And he goes, no, that guy really hates you. And he's like, can't you tell? And I was like, well, no, he didn't. He didn't say he hated me, and he didn't. I don't know. He seemed like he was happy. I don't know. I was just completely clueless. Anyway, enough talking. Here you go.
That's good. The summit's over. That's it. It's finished. We're all going home.
Wow. Is there other people in your work that are a little like you?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
We're at my job. Pretty much everybody's about one deep. So like, there's a few engineers, but they're all have much. They did not have like that kind of stuff that I did, and yeah, they're pretty much like there's only like one of each kind of person. Like there's one HR person, one.
Oh, I meant socially.
No, not really.
Are they very social people, or are they not very social people? I'm just curious.
At the time, they seemed like pretty sociable, but now they seem about average.
Okay.
Like they've got about they know social stuff, but they don't really care. So if they're talking to somebody who doesn't work with them that they have to be nice to, they kind of are like kind of rude to them. They kind of don't. That person's telling them about their weekend, and they're like, all right, cut them off. All right, let's get the meeting started. If they're from a different company, they won't extend those niceties to them.
I was just curious because I built Burning Man art cars a couple times, and a couple of geniuses in the computer world came to help, and they were a little like that. They weren't very social.
Yeah. If you have technical like genius and social skills, that's a super powerful combination because it's rare. And you can become a salesman in some kind of tech company pulling down like massive money because it's rare that people have both of those. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, him and I are extremely social. Like most of what I do is anyway, being social.
Yeah.
I meet people every day. But okay, I had surgery today on my mouth, right? And so I'm having trouble like talking right. But anyway, my first summit, call me BC, I guess. What am I going to talk about? We're going all through this gamut of different things, Well, my plan, I met Paul on a job site. Anyway, and we started hanging out and started talking, and we have a lot of the same ideas. And I come from these other men's circles, and I found it curious, I want to know about what's going on, and I brought him to one of my men's circles, and it's like, oh, wow, we have a lot in common of what's going on in this day and age. I mean, things we've talked about, how things change over the last, whatever it's been, 100 or 50 years. I mean, if you look at 10 years ago, even with women, it has dramatically changed in the last 10 or 20 years. If we want to talk about women, I guess. For me, I've decided I'm going to have more fun in my last third of my life than I am than my other 2/3. That's my goal, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm setting up a plan now, and it's almost there. And I'm gonna have to take another pill. Wow. Anyway, Anyway, yeah, it hurts when they pull your teeth out.
Yeah.
Then shove a denture on top of it. Anyway, where am I going right now? Well, anyway, we started talking about different things about, let's say, we're talking about women and how to get along in this society. And wow, all the likenesses and things I've learned. One of the main things I've learned is that you keep your, whatever you want to call it, your terms. Let's say I surf. Let's say I snowboard. Let's say I go to a men's thing on Tuesday. I don't know. When you get into a relationship, for me, I've noticed with these other guys, I've been in relationship for 15 years, we work on this. Whatever you do, if you're dating and you're single, or if you're married, when she's screaming at you, you don't need to go to softball tonight. Yes, dear, whatever. And then you pick up your softball bag and you go. You don't even argue. You just go do you. If they can't handle that, it's not right. And what I found, the last girlfriend I had, when I had 5 years about with her, when it finally ended, I just said, it's enough, man. And we can get into a lot more of that too later, but just to sum up the point is, when we broke up, for the first time in my life, I've had no pain. And my other times when I was in a relationship and broke up, I'd be in pain for 6 months, 2 years. This time I had no pain. It's because I kept my whole life going, whether she was there or not. And I didn't think it would make that big a change, but it did. And it was weird because she'd get mad and whatever, but I'd come home and sometimes she'd just be completely over it. Just screaming at me when I'm leaving, and then she's like nothing happened. So in other words, keeping your terms, I guess what I would call it. Just do what you do no matter what. Like even if softball's you're not going to play, go anyway. Like
You maintained frame.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, the frame of reference did not change. The framework of your life did not change.
Not a bit.
She didn't pull you out of your orbit, your path.
Yep, and wow, that was a big change for me. And what else can I just?
Any reaction to being here and seeing everybody and?
Well, I love this stuff. Like I'm in other men's things, so I can tell you right now, this is better than my other men things because we've never met each other. Can you imagine if you did this every Tuesday for 15 years? It wouldn't be as. Yeah, we already know what happened to you last week and 15 years ago. But this is great, and I'm curious to see what happens next. And I know that I can talk about my daughter thing too. You know, that was a strange thing when my daughter was out of my life for 3.5 years, and I raised her since she was 5 months old as a single father. That was the hardest. Yeah. But at least I didn't commit homicide. That's good. and I handled it pretty well. Actually, I guess I just stuffed it down deep and didn't do what I really wanted to do to that lady. But anyway, yeah, after going through all of it, there was 2 lawyers out of probably, I don't know how many lawyers I freaking talked to. They all just go along with the system, whatever they fucking say. They don't help you. None of them. But I did find 2 guys, but I had to pay them like $150K. And they said she would go to jail for kidnapping and you'll win for sure. And they have a 99% conviction rate. Like he never loses. He was, what was he? He was an engineer, and he decided after seeing what's going on, he wanted to be a lawyer because he got fucked over too and became a lawyer. And he's like, anyway. Yeah, anyway, what we're talking about is very real. very real. It's a setup. It's whatever you want to fucking call it. It's a rigged game. Yeah, it's a way to pay for society. Get married, have kids, and then nowadays you get in an argument and be thrown out. And their boyfriend could be in there, and my friend it happened to recently, and she said the gall to say you can sleep on the couch while she's with her new boyfriend in his house. What? You gotta be kidding. Like, anyway, I don't know. I don't want to take up all the, yeah.
Just to say something real quick. As a man in his 20s, this information is so fucking important. And I'm so glad that I've been able to be in the right mindset in my life to be able to take this information at this time before I make these mistakes. And in turn, I'll be able to do a lot more things to help other guys not make those same mistakes. So if you're in your 20s and you're listening to this, fucking listen. Because you can either learn from your mistakes or you can learn from other people's mistakes. And I'd rather learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah. And
that's what it's all about, man.
And also, I'm surprised this guy, when you're that young, you have that much testosterone, it's really hard until when you're 50, it's a little easier to take this information in and apply it. Because I was just driven to just have the next girl, you know. That's another mistake I made. I thought I was single, but I'd be going out with one girl. That's not single. You're married. You just don't know it. You don't. Single guy could go out with lots of girls. And so I finally had to do the honest thing. I'd tell them, hey, look, I'm getting a relationship one after another. I'm going to be single for a year. And that worked. It actually made them fight over me. It was great. So, I don't know what to go on and on. I'm just going to keep chiming in when things come into my head. But,
I have a question. So
yeah.
I'm curious, as a guy in my mid-30s.
Talk about.
Oh, yeah.
So as a guy in my 30s, I'd be curious to know, like, it sounds like you still date women. So what would you recommend then? You, with all the information you know and the custody battle you had with your daughter, like, it sounds like you're still pro going out with women to some extent.
Yeah. What I do now is I focus on. It's allowed me to focus on what I really want to do, which is, let's say for me, it's whatever, wrestling. Me and my daughter wrestle. She's in wrestling. She wrestles guys. I skateboard, vertical swimming pool still, and I snowboard, and I'm concentrating on things like making money and stock market and things of this nature, and setting aside time to travel. And what I found is when I travel, I get treated like a god. So, do I want to go out with one girl here and be in a 6-month relationship, or a relationship for 2 years or 4 years? Or would I rather be traveling around, meeting girls half my age that are fighting over me, and have a great time for a day, a week, a month, whatever, for the rest of my life? Or would I rather sit in this country arguing with what we got going on here? Or sit in men's groups trying to figure out these women that are outside the door right now. Be careful, is all I'm saying. I still go out with women around here. I did on New Year's. And had a great time.
Where do they fight over you? Where do you travel and get that?
I can give you specifics. Thailand, you end up in Bangkok, go to the Nana Hotel, and then the Nana Plaza is right across the street. Stay there a few days, I don't know. Then get a cab ride, or actually I pay a guy in the parking lot to give me my personal driver, $20, takes me to Pattaya, 2 hours away, and you stay at the Flipper Hotel. And when you come out the door, be careful, you're going to have your guard up. Because you're going to have to push away these three, because that one's so hot right there. And then you're going to be like, wait, I want her. And the wait, I want her. Oh, and it's that easy. You have to swim through it over there. It's 5 miles long of normal businesses with palapas every 100 yards for 5 miles. With girls chasing you. It's a role reversal. It's a role, and you can't even take it. There's no way I can describe it. It's ridiculous. Oh, but, that's out crazy fun. But, you can also go online and try and meet, what you want. I found out last time I was over there in the Philippines and Thailand and Bali, and you can, what do you want? You want a girl who's into action, like, or you want somebody who's more like a nurse, or I don't know, whatever your thoughts are, right? An engineer, you never know. Whatever you want, like that. Good luck here. One wrong word, you'll lose your house. My friend works at Google right now, has his own department, kills it, has 2 kids. He's kicked out of the house. He can barely afford an apartment in San Jose because he's paying so much child support, alimony, and mortgage right now. Right now, that's happening. It's crazy.
Department head at Google, and even he can't.
Doesn't that suck?
That sucks.
Yeah. So
because they'll take whatever you got.
Yeah, the more you make,
The more you have going for you as a man, the more that is used against you to exploit you. They will take all the success, all the hard work, all the good decisions you made, the culmination of all your efforts as a man, and they will use that as a way to destroy you.
Yep. It's a fact.
Or at least rob you to sustain the other party. So that's how it works.
Does the court show your paycheck stuff at the tax return?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The funny thing is,
your bank, your fucking crypto,
everything.
The court will, in discovery, the court will make you reveal all of your financial statements, all your income, everything about you, down to the nuts. But then the other party, the mother, can lie like crazy all through discovery, imperjurate herself. And when it comes down to it, it'll read right down in the 9th inning, and they'll say, "Hey, listen, don't worry about it. It'll be okay. Just shut up, accept it." That's how it is.
Yeah.
They don't even follow the laws on the books when it comes to the women in divorces.
Can the laws be changed?
No, the laws are on the books.
But they don't even follow them.
They don't even follow them.
Because the thing is, if you're in a criminal case or some other sort of case and you lie or commit perjury or something like that, it will be enforced and used against you. I mean, it can be, admissible.
Yeah.
And I'm not a lawyer, but in family court, it's like a kangaroo court.
Yeah, actually, you are guilty until proven innocent, and you will never be proven innocent.
They don't give you a chance. There's no process. Like a criminal case, you have a process to prove innocence. It takes time, expert witnesses, the testimony. Oh, you don't get them. You're supposed to prove your innocence without any tool.
Good luck. Yeah.
When my old lady took off, and they, for a year, left me holding the bag to pay all the bills, and I said, "Hey, what about all these bills that she didn't pay? Shouldn't she be, liable for the mortgage, all this other stuff?" And they just said, they said, shouldn't she be liable for her share of everything? They said, "No, because you got to benefit for living there. you had the benefit of enjoying all this stuff." And then I said, "Well, I'm paying all this insurance too, and all this." And they said, "Well, good for you. Keep doing that."
It's fucked up.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a rigged game, guys.
Yeah,
it's a rigged game. I'm going to pass at this point. I'll come up with something that I can talk about later.
All right.
Hey, so this is Wokester, and it's my first summit. Little about me, I'm in my early 50s. Here mostly for the camaraderie, meet some cool new guys, and get some knowledge. My marriage is dead, pretty shitty, so it's looking like it's about time. And get some ideas about what I'm about to go through and some pointers and stuff. But being in my early 50s and coming back to what the other guys are saying, I think the thing I would stress is if you're young today, you have no idea how lucky you are that you have the internet and you have people like Ronin Man and all the other content on YouTube, because I was flying blind. And I mean, I was kind of red pill in my own way. I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. All the men in my family, a lot of the people I know were all blue pill. And, I just was my personality that I didn't want to be monogamous. And, I generally didn't have long-lasting relationships, even though I was fairly, had a fair amount of success with the ladies when I was younger. But, I mean, so I made some large mistakes, and I'll go into that. But the fact that, the knowledge is all sitting there, and, if you go look for it, you have such a head start in life. And, you don't have to make all these stupid mistakes and then, start over in middle age. So that's what I would stress the most here. I mean, yeah, there was really no internet when I was in my 20s. And, there were a couple books out there like How to Be Free in an Unfree World that kind of describe my mindset. But I didn't even know that book existed because none of my friends were like that. And, the internet wasn't there. So I only found that book later. Yeah, The Manipulated Man and so on.
That's the classic.
Yeah. You guys were just really lucky. And I don't know, what's my story? So I'd say probably the biggest thing was I was a serious drinker from at the age of 17. And, basically for whatever reason, I don't know if it's genetic or my own psychology, but, when I started drinking, I was like, I was an awkward kid. I was somewhat lacking in social skills. I'm still somewhat lacking in social skills, but I'm way more advanced than I was back then. And instead of, maturing and like facing things as they came to me, I discovered getting drunk, and I was like, well, now I can talk to girls, and maybe I'm being a jackass, but they like the bravado, to be honest. I mean, it worked at least for a while. So, and I was never like a daily drinker, but I was say a problem drinker until about 7 years ago. So I didn't quit till I was like 45. I got married before I quit, and like I mellowed out because I was kind of a madman in my 20s and early 30s. But part of the baggage of that is my current wife was I think has issues with BPD, and I didn't even know what that was until a few years ago. But it's one of the cluster B psychological traits, whatever you would call it. And so there's all these tactics where the knowledge is out there, and I only found out after the fact, and I was like, oh, they love bomb you. There's like the crazy sex. They're the crazy sex, right? Like the nutty ones. But in a way, the mask falls over time, and then the respect ends, and you go along this trajectory where I made the mistakes. I didn't go out to softball every week. I was like, all right, we got kids, I'll move to the suburbs, and that's all I do is like LARPing as a upper middle class suburban man, driving kids to school and working all the time. And so I ended up as that guy. And I mean, it's not all bad or whatever, but over the years, it's now it's dead. The respect is gone, and the differences that we had have become extremely apparent, especially politically. We were never on the same side of the aisle, but it didn't matter kind of back then. But ever since the Trump thing and the derangements and whatever, I wasn't like even a Trump supporter, but I am like pro freedom or whatever, and it's just gotten insane. So it's not going to work going forward, and it's been dead for a while. And I have some, I don't know, psychological issues I need to deal with to make it happen. I've been kind of stuck for a while, but there's red lines have been crossed, and it needs to happen. So, but having said that, I just wish that knowledge had been there. I made some mistakes, but I'm also optimistic. I mean, I got my health. I'm in pretty good shape financially, and I'm ready to start the next chapter. So, I'm an optimistic guy, and just glad to be hanging out with everyone, soaking in the knowledge. And that's another thing. I allowed myself to isolate, kind of that thing. And I some guys think, women do that on purpose. They're kind of like mate guarding, oh, you can play with so-and-so and you guys can watch football or something. But, they certainly don't want you doing stuff like this where, you're going to get ideas in your head that don't support their agenda of, being their servant for the rest of your life. So, I don't know.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
Cool. Fucking angel. All right, thanks. Hey, anything to say? You want to add something? Just kind of like we're just doing intros. It's been going on for a long time, but if you got some.
Did you call me handsome?
Is it?
Yeah, handsome.
Yes. There you go.
Well, I don't think so. I think I'm a real asshole. I was walking down the street a few days ago, and some guy, well, there's plenty of guys, they says, "Hey, can you spare some change?" And I said, then I busted out. It didn't go quite this way, but I said, it was instant. I said, "Fuck you." I said, "Fuck you. I'm trying to change, so I can't give you any change."
Oh, you're funny.
And then I don't know where that came from. He was standing there with his hand. He was just staring at me. And I don't know why I said what I said. And then I said,
You got honest, huh?
and then I said, "Oh, sorry for being rude." Then I reached into my pocket. I took out some change, and I picked out 2 pennies. And I says, "Here's my 2 cents." And he says, "Thank you." All this time, he was just staring at me, thinking about what I said, and I didn't even know what I said. And then, well, here's my 2 cents. And then, I think he understood what I meant after that. I wasn't sure. I guess when he said change, it triggered something. He wanted a noun, and I thought verb. Change is pretty tough. That's why it triggered me. That's why I think I'm an asshole for doing that, but I think he understood. I think maybe he wanted some change too. He did. Yeah. He wanted some spirit change. Anyways, I think now I'm thinking back, I know my mind was in a different place. Have anybody killed anybody before?
Anybody in this room?
You don't have to answer. I think I did. My sister passed away about 2-3 months ago, October. She was 51, and that was very, 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 not traumatic, but it was I felt it was my fault. I killed her. Because 5 years ago, she lost her job, and she needed help financially. And she lives in Iowa, so it's very cheap. She had a husband. And I says, "Okay, how much you make, how much you need to pay your half to survive." So it was a workable number. Yeah. So I took care of her for 5 years until last October. So I guess I was doing all right. I had a good job. I live here, and I could support her and her whatever basics that I pretty much replaced her paycheck in a way, and was able to do that for her. And she said, "Oh, thank you," and she always compliment me and looked up to me and always say, "You're so this, you're so that, you're so great," and then. And then I said, well, you need to stop saying this because I don't feel that way about myself. I'm doing this because it's just monetary. It's no big deal, because I have a job, no big deal. You're my sister, I'll take care of you, And then in a way I was kind of upset doing that because I wanted her to try and go get a job. Yeah. She had a high school education, didn't go to college, but she was able to land a pretty decent, HR job at a pretty big oil company. And then so she was doing all right for many years. So she was making good money. Doing HR, then they offloaded to India because it's just paperwork type stuff. And then I said, okay, whatever. That doesn't matter. So I've been, taking care of her, and she's happy. She says, this is always what I wanted, is to be a stay-home mom. She never had kids. She had a two-stepchild, and it goes a little bit deeper than that, but in a way, it kind of bugged me, and I wish I didn't help her out. I wish I let her suffer a little bit and make her go get a job. So I took care of her for 5 years. She stays at home, do nothing, and and I knew she was quite overweight because of past childhood, if you want to call it traumas, when you brought it up, and then a lot of it's due to eating for comfort. It's a different type of addiction. We all got it, whether we want to admit it or not, some form. So I didn't know that, but I knew she was overweight. And I says, you got to take care of your health, and since you're not working, you should go out and do exercise, walk around, move around, go ride a bicycle and this and that. But she couldn't do it. She couldn't change. So whatever issue she had, she could not change. So maybe that's what triggered me for when that guy asked me for some spirit change. I must have been thinking about her. And I took care of her for 5 years and paid all her expenses, let her live the good life. And at the very end, she passed away in her sleep. And it just bugs the hell out of me. It's like, you help somebody. It made life too easy for some reason, I thought. I'm still thinking about it. And it brings back a lot of stuff about what you said before about legacy. It makes me think about my legacy. And it's just, it's make me think about a lot of different small little topics you thought about, and then how do I go forward? And it makes me feel like right now, I'm like you, I'm in my mid-50s now. And then I've felt like after that happened, I don't need to have any more goals to try to chase anything except to take care of my own health. And this brings back what you said, one of the things that's changed. I think it's tough to do big changes. Like, I drink a lot. It's tough. That is very difficult. There's other things I could do. I could change eating more than I could change drinking. And the biggest thing that I got from you the last few weeks or a month ago, you said, what you put in your body, what you eat, will get you 60% of your happiness. And that is what I want, I said, if it's that easy, if I was a betting man, that's a good bet. Just by putting good food in your body and just changing little things And then when I'm thinking about her, when I went to see her the one last time to her house, all I see on the kitchen table was all processed food. Just processed food, just cereal stuff, canned goods, and I just looked at that and I said, damn, I contributed to her demise and made it too easy for her to just feed her, whatever stuff. So anyways, I do appreciate a lot of things you said. I take a lot of things, bits and pieces of it, but about the health and stuff, you do really have to take care of yourself and your mental health, and having this to come, get it out, just get it out of your system, I guess. So thank you.
All right. Fucking look, man, it's good, man.
Hey, BC,
That's awesome.
I want to say she was an addict of some sorts.
Yeah.
Food.
And if you didn't give it to her, somebody else would. If she would have gotten a job, she would have bought that food herself.
Yeah. Or stolen it.
No, she would have just
steal
worked
food.
and eat the same shit.
Yeah.
Comfort her.
Yeah, it's not your fault, man.
No.
I felt that. I gave her, made it too easy.
Any addict will tell you though that in the end it's their decision, to do these things.
Yeah.
It really is. It's our decision, right? What we put in our bodies, for sure. That's, sadly the truth. Hey, listen, we want to go. Mr. Smith, can you talk at all?
Sure.
Let's get a quick. Yeah.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me well enough? All right. Maybe I should turn on more lights in here. Alexa, make master bedroom warm white. There we go. Okay, that's better. Should I do this way or this way?
No, it's not video anyway because it's just audio. We're recording.
Oh, it's just audio.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, never mind then. Shit, where should I begin? Mr. Smith, also known as Alex.
The quarterback of San Francisco 49ers?
The secret is out.
Yeah. So, I was, assisted with hosting one of the locations at the last summit. First summit I went to was the Japan summit in 2019. Because I had previously gone to Japan back in 2015, and I just really loved Japan. So I'd been following, Ronin's videos for a while, and then we talked about doing a summit in Japan. And I was just like, oh, here's my excuse to go to Japan, So that was the first time I met Ronin over there, and also I met Luke, who just spoke before me. So we ran into each other over in Japan. So that was kind of what would I call it? It was a very magical meeting, and it turned out that he was from here in the Bay Area, and so we just hit it off, and then my nickname for him was Toucan Luke, a little play off of words for Toucan, Colt, cool hand Luke, because he showed up one night when we needed beers. We needed alcohol. There's a bunch of chicks there's some chicks we had in the park in Japan, and didn't have any alcohol. And Luke came to the rescue with two big silver cans of like Sapporos or something, and I just blurted out, "It's Toucan Luke." I just said that. It just came out, and it just stuck after that. So let's see. So I guess my story, I've said my story a few times before, so I'm trying to think, say this similar thing. I do like a truncated version, I guess. I was definitely way more blue-pilled, and I very idealistic and just like, I think I was operating from a premise of just like, all women are just mean positive intentions for you, and so like I didn't even have a place in my mind where it's like, oh, they can have nefarious plans or something, like that wasn't even, I didn't even have a place in my mind to go there. And so when things were, whenever there'd be some red flags about things, I mean something else, and the truth is, up until me getting married, I didn't really have any bad relationships per se, most of them actually were to pretty decent, good women, and then it just kind of ended for one reason or another, but usually not, just typical kind of stuff, and we just kind of ended, amicably usually. So it wasn't until the marriage that then this chick that I met, I think the first omen sign was that we met on Valentine's Day. I think back, I was like, there's so many weird things that happened. We met at Valentine's Day, and we met at like this like sex and intimacy open house workshop thing. There's all like there's those kind of weird stuff here in San Francisco. And so a friend of mine that I was part of this other sex cult thing, One Taste, and so one of the women that were in there, she's like, oh, you got to check out this other one. And she's like, it was so amazing. You got to come check it out. So please be my guest and stuff. So I'm like, all right, fine. So I showed up, and then that's where I met my ex, and what was weird, I would say, till this day, the one thing I'd say the biggest learning lesson I was getting was to trust your instinct and trust, your inner guide, and like learn to hone it. I think maybe a lot of guys maybe are just haven't been taught or trained or whatnot to be more in tune with like that, their like inner voice and their instinct, which I think it's different than just like feeling your feelings or something. I don't know. It feels like there's something else. It's this other category, because I distinctively remember in the first few seconds of meeting her, there was like this little voice in the back of my head that just said, you better move on. Like right in the, literally, like we barely even said two words to each other, and it already said that. And the thing is, I don't recall ever having something like that ever happening to me before. It was very distinct. But then I was like, wait, what was that? In the moment, I was just like, and I remember just disagreeing with that voice that popped up. I was just like, wait, what? What do you mean? Like, she's really cute. What are you talking about? She's fine. He was like that. I'm totally dismissive of that little voice that said, oh man, you're in for a whole herd of trouble right now. But I didn't, I just disregarded that warning, that my system told me that she was going to be nothing but trouble. And so I proceeded anyways, and and it turned out that she kind of was accelerating things quicker than I was. I just kind of was just like, just naively going along with it. And it was like, we're boyfriend and girlfriend already, and all this kind of stuff. But then later, it started, like in hindsight's 2020, that what she really needed was she needed to get married because her work visa had expired. So, we basically were dating off and on, but she was kind of, she wasn't fully opening up, like sexually and all that kind of stuff. And then she was, acting like, wait until we get married and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, at the time, part of me was just like, well, every time I've got in a full-blown relationship and having sex all the time with some chick, like, the relationship always ends anyway, so it was like, part of me was like, well, fuck it, maybe we'll try something different. Maybe he'll go differently this time. And of course, that was not the right, that was not the right decision. So I'm never gonna do that again. That was stupid. But, it was, at the time, I was just like, I just wasn't sure what else to do, because every other relationship just always ended up failing, and I didn't know what it was. But in retrospect, I'm actually, I don't regret having the experience, because it definitely helped me shape me who I am today now. It definitely, I realized that I had grown up with a lot of some naive thinking, kind of sheltered in different ways. And so, sometimes you need a cold dose of reality, to just like recalibrate your whole paradigm, but it's about like getting the right amount of painful experience without it being completely devastating. So that's the trick, and it's really, So I feel fortunate that I think mine ended up being a bit more on the, it was painful as hell, but it's recoverable. I'm still, things are, there's still some things that are still kind of in shambles since then. But at least I don't have a kid with her, so I could at least, like, if I don't want to have anything to do with her ever again, then I have an option to, so at least that's, and there wasn't any big painful divorce thing in terms of just, like, there was no shared assets.
You got to tell him what you did.
Oh, which part?
Well, like so ghosting you after the wedding.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay, so right when I realized things were really bad, yeah, like I'm going for it, and I'm finally like, okay, let's go for it, and I'm like thinking everything is great, and so we get married. The day of the wedding, everyone's like, wow, this is one of the best weddings we've ever been to. I mean, I used to film weddings, so I knew exactly what actually made a good wedding, and what was just a waste of money. So, like, we were able to put on a better wedding for, like, 1/5 the price than most other people do. And it ended up being this really great experience. And I'm thinking, at that first night, everything seems great. We have sex and everything. I'm just thinking, I go to sleep feeling totally happy and, like, things are going to be wonderful moving forward, kind of thing. And next thing you know, next day, she basically takes off. At the time, she was working as a Montessori school teacher, and she was in the middle of getting her master's degree in child psychology. And then she was also she was Latin. This Latin girl who was a Latin dance instructor. And then she had previously, back in, like, I think it was like 2014 or something, like, I forget what year it was, but she won one of those, like, U.S. national salsa championships or something. She, like, got first place, so she was, like, extremely proficient dancer. So I think that was part of her charm, I would say, her enchantment, I guess. But after the wedding, it was literally like the next day. She was just like, "Well, I've got stuff to do. I got to go back to work. I'm studying for my master's thing." And then she still had her little studio apartment in the city. And then all of a sudden, like, literally for 4 days straight, I didn't see her after the wedding. And I was just like, what the fuck is happening? And I'd call her, and she's like, I'm busy. I'll call you later. It was like that day after day. I'm just like, wait a second. Didn't we just get married? Like, aren't we, like, supposed to be together at least part of the time here? Like, what the fuck is happening? So that's when, like, emergency bells were starting to fire off, like the worry of like, oh no, this can't be happening. But there's still rationalization, still rationalizing it away as much as I could, but still feeling like something is not right here. And then when I really knew things were seriously wrong is when then she finally showed up after 4 days. She sees me, and it was like I was just a stranger to her. She just walked right by. She was like, oh, hey, and just walked by. It was like nothing. And I was like, what the fuck? No hug, no kiss, nothing. And then we go lay down.
That's story.
Like, wears like a trench coat. She wears like a full-length trench coat to bed. And then goes, okay, good night, rolls over and goes to sleep. And I was like,
dude, that's so hot. Yeah.
Dude, that was literally that was the first time I'd ever experienced a panic attack. I literally had a panic attack in that moment. I mean, because it felt like this experience. I had this feeling of like, I just murdered. My whole future is dead. It was like I had just made a grave error. I mean, it felt like the level of like I just killed somebody, but it was just like I just committed a treacherous act on myself by getting into this thing that I'm currently in, and now I'm fucked. Like it was that. It was just like bone chilling moment when that happened. Because I've had many different relationships, and I'm like, I had never experienced something like that before. I mean, it was so shocking. I was just like, I was like aghast, aghast to like just, I cannot believe that this is happening. Like, this makes no sense to me. Like, how can this? And then I don't know. And then it just kind of like, I just kept trying, pushing, making, like trying to make sense of it, and then trying to, of course, go to marriage therapy and all that shit. But it was such a fucking lost cause. I mean, it was off the rails the day after the wedding. I mean, like, how can a marriage be off the rails the day after the wedding? I mean, that is bad. I mean, literally, there was no honeymoon. We didn't even make it to a honeymoon. There was no honeymoon. It was so off the rails from the get-go. We never even bothered to do a honeymoon because, it was crazy. She just completely turned cold as ice right after the wedding happened.
Alex,
and then,
this love story, we basically get the idea here. This is a nightmare scenario. More guys than you would expect have this kind of stuff happen. They're just absolutely hoodwinked, robbed.
It's the ultimate bait and switch.
This happens.
It was insane bait and switch. I mean, it went from I went to bed thinking I'm the happiest guy ever to I so fucked myself.
You're lucky you're not in prison, because this is the type of person that's so cold that they will definitely make false accusations in a second, in a heartbeat, just to get rid of even talking to you. Like, why are you here? Why aren't you in prison? This is like the ultimate in ice cold reptilian behavior. If you've never experienced someone like this, you don't know what he's talking about. I experienced 2 people like this. I know what he's talking about. It's a different thing. It's like the temperature of space.
It's like you're in a movie.
So like
Stuff. You could like literally jump off a building to appease her or something. Like, you're so insane. The pain is so great. Like, it's beyond. Yeah. Hey, listen, even though this is like the best story ever, let's continue this, because we've been going on for 3 hours and a half.
I know. I feel like
I'm holding this thing and my feet hurt, and we got to eat.
Yeah.
I want to hear the revenge part, man.
No, there's none of that. Yeah. You wish. That's tonight. We're gonna go do that for him.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of other twists and turns to that story. That where I left off, that's where it just began.
Yeah, that's that right there. You said that story. Like, that's something to chew on right there.
Yeah.
It's like there's no money back on marriage. A man, you walk into this, you got the contract, you signed. It's like, this is kind of the way it is. Like, and this is what we're up against. You don't know. It's a setup. and there's no hope in redeeming yourself. There's no proving yourself. Alex, I'm glad you made it because I know a lot of people would have killed themselves after something.
I
like
was
that.
on the verge. I mean, I was getting pretty desperate.
He was on the verge. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, it was dark. Things got pretty dark. I was
public humiliation too, right? Because you just had a wedding and you're already divorced the next day.
I mean, the worst part is like I'll have some friends come over and they're like, oh, and they're like kind of making jokes, kind of making playful jokes referring to like how amazing your sex life might be, and it's just like she's fucking cold as ice, like she doesn't even give me a hug, and I'm just like, yeah, just like pretending that things are okay. And then I realized like a lot of married people, especially guys, they just like they try to pretend that things are okay when meanwhile it's just fucking hell.
The deepest depths. Yeah.
All right. And then lastly, I would say that experience it triggered a lot of like childhood. I think there was like certain childhood trauma stuff that really got activated that I'd never gotten triggered before. So like there's like some severe, it was like I was experiencing a severe like abandonment kind of reaction that was coming out of, I didn't even know where it was coming from, but like my system was reacting in ways that I had never experienced before, and I am just like, it's like my whole system was going into panic mode.
Yeah, your nervous system, yeah.
Oh yeah, my whole nervous system, it was like down deep into my cell, down to my cells, was just like freaking out. Like what the fuck is happening? Yeah. It was bad.
I think the main lesson, I heard this story before, but you said it really well this time. I think the main thing is that as a man, we hear that inner voice and it's so easy to ignore it. And there's nobody ever tells you what to do. I would say if you hear that inner voice, write it down. Just take a pen or digital and write it down and send it to yourself or your friend. Whatever that thought is, just write it down. And then the next thought, just write it fucking down. Because that voice is there to tell you something. You can still ignore it, but if you write it down, it changes it. Because it goes from this, like, I can ignore this to it's on paper. And it's kind of like today when we talk. We say the stories and afterwards you almost know the answer. In fact, you do know the answer. You do know the answer.
It's like they got a playbook and we don't. It's like they got a professional guide, of how to screw us over.
Yeah,
and we have nothing.
And combined with the court system, it's like
crazy.
It's the court system is at the heart of it.
Think we are.
Yeah. Women think we're fucking idiots. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: everybody is trying to tell you.
Thanks,
to give
Alex.
them.
Thank you very much. That was freaking awesome. And thanks for setting us up in this awesome place.
Yeah, it seems like it's actually working out even better. You got more couch space to sit around, and it's all working out.
Dude, yeah, it's not on fire yet. But yeah. All right.
Coasters, remember? We use coasters.
Okay, coasters. We got coasters. We were going to say last thing.
All I was going to say is everybody tells you don't discriminate in your choices. Give them a chance. Give them the benefit of the doubt. No, trust your gut. Give yourself the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Oh,
fuck
yes.
yeah.
Oh, yes, and I'll add something to that. When you're dating and you're a single man and there's one thing that is going wrong, that's it. Done. Next. It's hard to do that because it's so hard to find girls now. Especially, it's getting harder for me now that I'm getting older. But I used to have it easy.
It's still pretty easy for him. So he's talking relative here. Yeah.
Well, whatever. But, oh, man, yeah. Seriously, when I've done this for my other men's team, if there's anything that goes against your core, cut it off immediately.
And sometimes you have to write it down first to even accept that it's real.
Yeah.
It's like it's this unreal thing that if you just ignore it, it's going to go away.
Yeah.
Like, just don't write it down. Don't tell anybody. Just let it rise and then smile and take a shower and eat some food. Yeah.
And go to your next men's group like my other one. Check in. Check in between a 1 and 10, 10 being the highest. Every guy comes in, I'm a 9, I'm a 10. Oh, no, I'm a 9, I'm a 10. Bullshit. I've known these guys for 15 years. Not one of them's a 9. No way.
Yeah, honesty. Honesty.
We need honesty.
Honesty. All right, guys. Well, look, it's been freaking awesome. And I want to say thank you to everybody here for everything, for trusting, for coming here, and for sharing your fucking guts out. That was amazing. Yeah. That was the best opening meeting ever. Number 1. Yeah. Thank you.